Hey, it's Just Trish, and this is all about my minimalist spelling, homeschool spelling. There's no list, there's no test, and you're like, but what program is this? You see, I have learned, especially from Sarah Mackenzie, reading her book, that your books, these things we spend hundreds and thousands of dollars on, resources, our curriculum is just what we do. The fact that I am not bound to these books that we call curriculum. My curriculum is what I make of them. Here's how I do it. Here we go. As you know, I did the whole video on minimalist homeschooling, and I kind of touched on how to do a minimalist spelling. And let me tell you, it is working out fantastic. Things are getting done, and I don't feel like a failure mom because I haven't done the spelling test. I'm not gonna lie, it's so easy. You can get any curriculum, any workbook that says, here's 36 weeks of spelling. And then there's all these little tasks that some get done, some don't, and then you feel like you didn't pass your spelling test. I hate tests. I do. I hate tests. They serve a purpose, but that whole spelling thing is just crazy arbitrary at times, especially for me. Remember, I have an engineering brain. Spelling's not a strong point for me or my husband who has an engineering brain. Also, the reality is we are not called to learn to spell so we can learn lit. You have to take notes, and you have to take notes that you can then read. So you are hearing things and you're taking notes and making your information. You kind of need to spell right so you know what you wrote. And the other part too is you need to do it so you're not like losing track of where the professor is because you're trying to figure out how to spell this word. It just needs to come out. It needs to write. And then like in the rest of the real world, when you're writing things, you need to know how to spell them. Or when you write a letter. Yes, there's spell check. But I mean, which two are you talking about? To you, also to, or the number 2? Spell check doesn't check that for you. Homophobes are really going to mess up spell check. You can be totally wrong. And it can look really dumb. Just saying, if you're trying to tell me spell check. So anyways, what are you doing, Trish? Okay, get to the point. What are you doing? Well, it's really kind of quite simple. I do have a couple resources. I am going to share them with you that I use. But let me tell you the pretty much gut of it. You spell something wrong, you write it 10 times. Move on. Do I test you, quiz you? No. Do I make you write sentences? No. You spell wrong, you write it 10 times. End of story. No, seriously, that's all I'm really doing. Now, I have some really cool resources that help me on this. So very first off, I'm going to go chronological by our day, not by importance or anything like that, but just by our day. Every morning, I ask my children to write 1 to 2 verses of the Bible. We're going through the book of John. Gospel John, not John 1, 2, 3. The Gospel John. I like Gospel John. It has a lot of good, like, you better know your stuff and what really was going on back in the day to understand who we're talking about. Because apparently John thought he had to write in pronouns only. It was just who that person was. Don't judge him. That's how he observed the world. Yeah. So we do the book of John. And we dissect who is who and who are we talking about. But there's a lot of great grammar in there. So we kind of like use it as grammar. But this is about spelling. So sorry. So they're copying. But Trish, how can this be spelling? We're copying. I know. You see that? That's her work of cursive. No, it was not in cursive. No, I did not print it in cursive. No, I did not write it in cursive. She's figuring it out on her own because she has some cursive work. Whatever. And in the midst of that, so I'll go through and I will check to make sure all the grammar's right, all the words were not missed, that they're taking the time to carefully look at what they're working at and they're copying it correctly. And then she misspelled answered. So what did she do? She wrote it. And then we moved on. Seriously, that's all we did. Next thing we typically do, because I'm still not all there yet, usually they're getting started before me, is they are working on either intermediate language lessons, and this is I've had these in hardcover books before, and I gave them away. I'm going to stop giving away curriculum. The value in these are beautiful. So I have my 3rd and 5th grader is doing this one. My 5th grader is moving quicker through that, but I think that should be expected. My 3rd grader, I'm not pushing her as quickly. We have like 2-3 years to do this tiny little book. We're good. My 6th grader is doing this one. I like it because I didn't realize how much writing's in here. Dictation or copy work. This is one that is dictation. And when I came across this dictation, I seen what he spelt wrong, and guess what he had to do? He had to write it out 10 times. Yeah, pretty simple stuff. So we're always working on what we need to know, what we have problems with. No list of like ideas that I think we need to study, even though you know how to spell them. We don't do any of that. One right here. You know, this was another dictation. And sometimes it shows up on copywork, just like the last time. Okay, so say we did something that doesn't really have a lot of hot and heavy, or there was no real spelling word missing. Then I go and I pull out dictation by the day. So I don't always do dictation by the day, but sometimes we do. So sometimes I do it even though we did dictation earlier. I don't really do. It depends on the amount and the child and all that, what feels right. But if we have like a copywork day, then we'll do a dictation day. And I use these dictations by the day. I might have a link to a blog, and I'm going to write all this up for you. All of this up, so you'll go there, and I have some other information in there. And I'm just going to start putting all of the living books that we're using public domain books for over on that blog. So you definitely want to follow it. I don't even know if I have it set up right for that, because I just don't. But it should help you be able to see the stuff I'm doing in writing instead of having to go through, you know, my blabbering for 25 minutes. Please, seriously, I'm trying not to. Alright, so this is dictation by the day. I kind of showed you a little bit about it. I like the ones broken up in a grade, but you can get it where it's a full book for like 2 different books, and I'll put those links in there too. Okay, daily lessons. This is just it's this part. I just read this, and then we go through it, and I go through and I check it that she do it right. And then it also, again, turns into a grammar lesson because we talk about grammar and punctuation, which works out really good. Talk about a 2-for-1. And that he did, one of my sons did. This is 5th grade. You know, he's in 5th grade. I mean, it's all arbitrary. It's wherever the child is. And so then he just wrote it 10 times. We moved on. The only time I've repeated the dictation, really didn't have to. I mean, I guess if they totally bomb and just get like even the dumb little things spelt wrong, we might repeat it. I haven't had that happen yet. At the same time, sometimes the grammar is not what they're used to. Because now remember, this book was written in 1909. The way they spoke was so much above what we speak now. Just saying. If the grammar was a little bit complex for them, or if I pre-read it, and I see the grammar is complex, I might have them do it as copywork the first day, dictate the second day. Just to give them the experience of the grammar, the experience of the words. I don't always do that. We just play it by ear. Yeah, there's a set number of lessons in here, but I'm not going to get myself worked up about it. I mean, it was written in 1909. This really could probably progress out. But it helps. It helps them get familiar with it, and then we move on. So sometimes I give them it for copywork if I know this is outside the realm. If they really bomb the grammar and they're not really used to that structure of thinking, I let them revisit it a second time. Even if we didn't get any spelling words, if I just seen that the grammar and the structure sentence is a bit much, we'll repeat it just to get that familiarity, and then we're done. So essentially, I'm using these great little resources, but when it comes down to it, anytime they misspell a word, they write it 10 times. This works out so good because instead of it just being like, oh, I do my spelling, and then they bomb the actual real world application of spelling everywhere else, they're way more attentive in their Bible copying. Ha ha ha. Because they know if they don't pay attention, they're rewriting it. And they're just like, it makes them be more attentive. And the more attentive they are with it, they're getting better. I mean, I'm quickly seeing the benefits. the common little words are being spelled correctly. Because listen, they don't want to keep copying them all the time. They're like, I can do it right the first time, or I can sit and copy them 10 times. I want to make sure I do them right the first time. And I've caught them. They'll go back in their book and they'll be like, wait. I know that's when I have a hard time. And they'll go find it. Granted, I could put a little column in the back, commonly misspelled words. I could seriously do that. But I really think instead of them going back and having to look and search for their word that they know that they misspell all the time, has way more benefits because they're learning to glean real quickly instead of giving them shortcuts all the time. And I really like the idea of no shortcuts. Now, we've ran into a few that it's like, but I don't understand why it's spelled that way. All right, I have a couple resources on that. One is I like the Learning to Read with Christian Light Education. And in the back of the Learning to Read and in the back of their language arts first grade level, they have all of the spelling rules. I refer to that. If you don't have it, you can survive. There's a lot of like McGuffey spellers, Webster's first, spelling words or whatever, which is the whole book that has all the spelling words. Typically, they'll have little rules above those, and you just have to go find that word. I know it's a bit much, but it could help you. Other than that, you can Google it if you don't know the answer. Giving you just something. So that's what we do. Literally, that is our minimalist. We don't do tests. We don't do spelling lists. We just real world application. You spell it wrong, you copy it. Done. You're going to pick it up because it's not the only time you're going to see that word in your life. Every time you see it and you misspell it, you're going to copy it 10 times. And it's working out good. Side benefit, their handwriting's getting really nice. So I hope this helps and kind of just eliminates the idea. Now, there are amazing resources you can buy that are PDF downloads. Simply, Charlotte Mason was one of them. I really liked what she had. The only thing I will say that did not have me buy them is I found them for free online and I printed them. You don't have to print them this small. You can print them on a regular one. On that blog where I've linked all this stuff, I'll have a link that tells you about my thinking on the price of printing stuff, and you'll be amazed. It's pretty darn cheap. But I'm like, well, I can get them for free. And the other part, too, is I like the fact that it's not one, like they have a whole paper with like this much writing on the top for one day. And I'm going to be honest, I think some of us have kind of gotten to be pansies about that as homeschool moms. Like, I just want to see today. And it's almost like if you put too much stuff on the paper, we're a little bit like, okay, 1, this wastes paper. 2, put your big girl panties on. Seriously. Because back in the day, they didn't have the paper or the resources to waste on just putting one. I mean, granted, that's a lot of text here. But now I know I'm only looking at this. We're so programmed that we have to have pages and pages and pages explaining it to us instead of just being concise and saying, you only need this part right here. I think it's kind of made us little kind of weenies. Just saying. I mean, if you look back at all the old school books, they put a lot of information. I mean, this is meant for primary. This is meant for 3rd graders. It literally, lesson 28, lesson 29, lesson 30. Does lesson 30 copy over? Nope. 31. It's text intense. But it's also good to teach our kids. Like, look, this one, 80, 81, finishes down there, 82. I think it's good to teach our kids to learn to not be so intimidated by so much print on the paper and teaching us to focus. I'm not going to lie. I'm not the best at it either. But I'm learning to be better. And I think it's a good thing to learn. Because when you start going into the higher college levels and you have a child that's so used to just having a whole page dedicated to one task, it doesn't work that way in college. It's like all in there. And you have to learn to find the important stuff. Yeah, I'm really like kind of a little bit like we need a college prep out real quick. We need to start being prepared for college because it's not easy. Although I think they'll have an easier time. But anyways, I'm diverging. I hope this helps. Let me know what you think. Am I blowing your mind here? Because it is pretty darn simple. It is really simple. It's not that hard. Read good books. Work from good texts that use big words and little words. Use it all. And your kid will pick it up. And when they make a mistake, just have them copy it and move on, and don't beat them over the head with it. Because writing from a list spelling words is rote memorization that you then dump. Using it in an application makes it stick. I think I found an article. Oh, All About Reading just totally had an article about that. About using dictation, which I thought was pretty cool. But again, they were plugging their product. I don't have a product. I just have information. All right, I'll talk to you later. Peace out.